Another day, another classic creator competition running alongside the summer fiesta. Today, we are participating in Mel's competition, which is to harvest the highest scoring fallow buck from under 30 meters with any shotgun. And we haven't used the engraved side-by-side for a while, so I decided that would be our weapon of choice. To show the creator's skin, by the way, we'll go into the store and take a look. I really like the 30-06 Stutson Mel's variation. It looks really cool. It blends with her channel colors really well, and I think it'd be pretty cool to win it. So we're gonna see what we can do. There's some really good entries already in this competition, and we don't have fallow enough, so I think this is a good excuse. And not a bad start, actually. This isn't a big fallow by any stretch, but just finding fallow in less than 20 minutes on Hirschfelden can be a bit challenging. You got another buck coming in back there. We're gonna hold out to the last second here. Well, there's a pretty decent buck. Make sure we have slugs. We do. That guy goes up to 180. That's what we want to see. And I mean, had we been able to get another shot off, we would have, but they were out of there pretty quick. I was considering using the bow for like one of the small ones, but this guy's probably every bit of 150 or 160. And he was well inside of 30 meters. He was at 18. Lung, liver, intestine, and a 151 score. Not a bad way to start. Certainly not a monster, and well shy of top 10. I don't even remember what 10th place was. I know first is like 180.8 or something like that, so a long way to go. But definitely not bad getting one that good right at the start here. And I think for what it is, this is a decent trophy shot. Got the sun coming through the trees, actually right through the antlers like that. Not too bad. And I mentioned the fallow deer being just kind of tough to find. I think of all the animals in the Hunter Classic, they might be the least predictable. And you gotta think too, they're on a map with pheasants, wood grouse, red deer, all these really vocal animals, so you rarely get calls from them. And I'm sure it's very easy to just walk past a herd that if you can't see, you'll probably never hear. So a lot of just mileage is required. Just cover a bunch of ground, look for tracks. Every now and then you get a call, and in this case it worked out. So we've actually got a fallow deer doe standing here. There was a group of tracks, and then suddenly they just spooked seemingly from everywhere. And I'm not even sure if there's a buck in with these, but if she'll stop again, just to kind of remove one of the tracks, let's take that out. Hopefully silently enough that nothing else hears it, because I gotta think there's a buck around here somewhere. It's really tough to even gauge the size of the footprints right now because everything is like in the brush. It's hard to compare them, and we don't have high enough tracking level to tell from the tracks if it was left by a buck or a doe. So try to go off size and it's just tough to tell. But at least in terms of finding fallow deer in general, whether or not there is a buck here, that method of just covering ground and picking up tracks seems to be the way to go. Well, I'm never going to complain about a random solid red stag walking up. We're in a stand that has probably been the most consistent producer of fallow deer of any spot that we have set up. And frankly, like I said, typically we find the most of our fallow deer by actually just walking around, but we do have a little group of fallow coming in, not unlike the group that we just shot our last doe from. And if it looked anything like this, with a buck of this size, probably best we left them and moved on. This is the only male I see, and I thought usually fallow traveled in bigger groups, but I'm thinking the last one was 3 based on the amount of tracks we found, so probably something like it. And the good news is, because we already have a solid entry, we can just go ahead and use the bow here, and should there be another herd of fallows somewhere in hearing distance, they won't be spooked by this. Now, they do have sometimes kind of awkward hitboxes. I've had a few occasions where what seems to be a good shot doesn't end up dropping them. This might be a little tougher. I feel like we might as well try to get this doe as well. Very much indecisive, but got her, and because you actually can't call in female fallow deer, that one's gonna walk off. We'll just take our time claiming stuff and try not to spook her. And I'm pretty sure she just went ahead and trotted away, which is pretty much what happens once you've shot all the males out of a group. But 214 stag, which we didn't even call for, he just came walking in. Got ourselves a bonus fallow deer doe here, which slowly but surely I've been working towards getting 100 of everything. She's actually right there. But there is a sort of achievement for getting 100 kills for every species, and you get a special banner for your profile. Fallow deer, because they're relatively new, we don't have 100 harvest of yet. I can barely see that, but that hit the ground. It must have fell just short. I didn't get a chance to range her, but I'm thinking she's got to be around 30. That'll do. So we got all of them, and that'll probably just help for any future tracks we might pick up. And I would also say it helps in being able to run around and claim, rather than crawl around, but this one being a frontal shot was lung, liver, stomach. Stuff's taken a while to calculate today, but hopefully that's not going to cost us anything. It really only matters when it comes to scores of males. I've seen things like not check off a mission objective, for instance, when it doesn't calculate. That looked a little better. And there was a tiny road-ear buck that probably is what we just hear over there kind of barking at us, but let's grab this last one. Looks like maybe even we hit a little high. Ended up being 27 meters, but that'll work. And if only we could find a slightly bigger fallow, we could start using the competition weapon, but good to take some out and work towards getting those 100 harvests. Now we're kind of moving back in the right direction. Got another decent fallow buck here, and there were at least 2 calls, so I'm guessing maybe 3 bucks in the area like that first group. I want to drop this guy because I have not seen anything else moving back there, but there have to be more, and I don't know if fallow deer actually even like bed down. Some species don't, but considering that guy came in, there should be more back there. If we just keep sitting here and calling, maybe they'll show up, but worst case, every fallow deer call that we've had so far today, I've marked it, because if we do gotta go and track him, at least we know where to start. Our second buck's definitely not as good as the first, and it is interesting, there's 2 does back there, and I haven't seen any other buck. It could just be the 2, but typically there are 3, so one thing we'll be able to do is drop that guy silently, and then just get down here again. The does see us, but they haven't spooked, so if we keep calling, and the does keep moving this way, there's another buck somewhere. If they turn around and leave, that has to be it. And at least they look like they're leaving. It just so happens they're leaving in bow range, so we'll probably take one or both, depending on if this spooks the one in the back. That's what I was talking about with the fallow hitboxes, though. Sometimes I just have a hard time dropping them. I think because she was moving, we actually hit too far back. But 2 more bucks and a doe we'll have to track. And frankly, for an hour and a half, the way that our fallow hunts typically go, that's not too bad. This guy was the second one. That was a 79 score, and I think this guy is probably 110 or 115. So, nothing nearly as good as that first one, 109.9 for him. But, the more of these we take out, the less tracks and calls we get later, and maybe we can stumble into one more decent one as we hunt along. Now, that's looking a little bit better. That's a pretty good one. We might have a shot with this guy. I want to get the spotting info on him. 130 to 200 is what we want to see. They max somewhere in the 180s, so an estimate above that is really good. And the only thing is we got to make sure he comes in to under 30 meters. Now, if we didn't shoot that doe, pretty good chance we never find this. I was probably going to fast travel, but in trying to track her down, he actually called, so this is going to be an awkward spot. I think the move, unfortunately, is probably sit here, wait till we can hear him move close, and stand up and go for the shot. I really think if we keep crawling, we may very well spook him. And I definitely can hear him, so let's get the shotgun ready. I want to wait till he's definitely close enough. I'm gonna say he probably is. Gonna give it an extra second just in case. There he is, so he's gonna be well under 30. That's a big fallow buck. I don't know really what to look for from, say, like 150 up to know if it's maybe like a 170 or 180, but really big palms on that. I think he's got to be way bigger than our 150. Around the same weight. One is 64.8. That's looking a lot better. Where does that put us? In 7th? I think there's still a fair bit of time left in this competition, but maybe a chance of going top 10. The tree kiwi competition, by the way, we spent a good bit of time doing that, ended up in 4th place, and got some EM out of it. So, you know, putting in the time for these, you can win legit prizes. And we might be onto something now, especially considering, what, we're an hour and 35 minutes into this? There's 5 attempts we can put in. And I like that. It really shows off the width of this palm nicely. Get to see a good bit of the tines. You still see a lot of this palm as well. I struggle to get decent trophy shots of fallow deer, but that's one of our better ones. So good to be into the top 10. Maybe we can stay there, and like I said, there's plenty of attempts we can still put in. We have that doe to go and find yet, and then I want to fast travel probably somewhere south. One thing that I think I'm finding, and it could just be coincidence, but it would kind of add up for how we struggled hunting fallow deer in the past. I think they tend to maybe stick to the forested areas, which this is the first time we've really tried hunting it. But I wonder, you know, the later you get into the hunts, maybe the more likely it is that they wander out into the fields. So maybe we'll go through, maybe go to our goose setup, and then move up into that forest. I also just found out that fallow deer buck actually pushed Kyla out of 7th place and into 8th place. I knew she was hunting for this competition, and I knew she had shot a decent fallow deer. I didn't realize she had a 163, so it's a little unfortunate, but I think we're probably going to need better than that to stay top 10 anyway. Hopefully. There might be a little something to this idea of checking the fields later on. We have, it looks like 3 smallish bucks. I'm guessing that that's going to be the best one, and he kind of knows we're here. If he'll take just a few more steps, because I think he will spook, but if he'll just continue there. That ended up as that exact same shot as the doe. Ended up being too low, but the whole herd was going to be gone anyway. Might as well get a shot at them. And yeah, 2 really small bucks and that guy. But last time this happened, it led us to a big one. So maybe we can just go ahead and track him down and end up with another giant. And I guess this time, no monster fallow to be found at the end of our blood trail. But our second kind of decent fallow buck, 100 score. So we've killed, I think, 2 really small ones. By the way, there's our 25th harvest with the Flinter bow. But 2 like average size bucks, 2 pretty good ones above 150, and if I'm not mistaken, 2 really small ones, and a couple of does here and there. Definitely our best fallow hunt ever. Pretty good timing to occur when we're in a fallow competition. Definitely cannot complain there. Well, I was kind of hoping maybe a stag would come in with this, but I'm pretty sure we just have a small group of red deer hinds here. And in exploring the kind of south part of the map, not finding any more fallow deer, so I think this is going to end up being our last kill. I already forget, I think this is number 26 now with the Flinter bow, but I'm really encouraged by the fact that in attempt number 1 here, we've gotten into the top 10, and I think there's still 2 days and change left on this competition. Now, by the time this video comes out, it'll be a day plus, but when I get opportunities to edit, I'll sit in some of the tree stands that have produced some fallow deer, and maybe we get a chance at an even better one. But one final kill here somehow. I find this mostly with red deer. We got neck and lung. Not a bad way to drop one in its tracks, and we'll see where this competition and our placement leads us. But for now, that's going to do it for this video. So as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.